Hey guys, Tom the Casual Cutter back again with a disassembly video for you on this knife that you might have seen a few days ago, a week ago maybe, on my channel. This is the CKF Capitalist. So we're going to take this guy down, we're going to clean it out, and we're going to see what makes it tick. Just a prelude to this video, I set up my camera rig to focus on this disassembly mat, and normally I don't do that. I stand over it, so I can't see what's going on right now on camera. Hopefully you guys can see what's in the frame, and hopefully I keep it in the frame. But yeah, if it looks a little wonky, I apologize. I am sitting down for this video. The mat I'm using today is I Use It ESD silicone soldering mat. I picked this up on Amazon. I think it was like 15 bucks, and it is a phenomenal takedown tray. It's made of heat-resistant silicone. It's meant for soldering. It has a little measuring system here, a little ruler in inches and centimeters, which is cool. It has all these little pockets that are numbered 1 through 28 that you can use for hardware, as well as 8 additional pockets up here, square ones. A big one in the middle, 2 round ones on the side, and then all these bit holders here, which you can basically just set up bits in, and it'll hold them there. You know, I don't use it, but it's there. So phenomenal mat. I Use It EDC silicone soldering mat. I think it comes in a couple different colors. I'm not sure, but it literally has everything you'd ever need for disassembly. So yeah, the Capitalist. One thing I like about this knife is that all the hardware is on the lock side. So there's no visible screws here. It's got a clean pivot. All the hardware is on this side. So let's just get to it, shall we? Another plus is that all of the hardware on this knife, in terms of the frame screws and the pivot, are in a T10. It looks like the pocket clip is maybe a T9 or T8, but that's not going to come off as often when you're doing maintenance on your knife. Same thing with the lock bar insert. So for regular maintenance, you just need one bit, a T10. I am using my Weha bit set here, which has been awesome. I've had it for about 3 years. Comes with a precision driver, as well as a ratchet wrench for pesky, hard to remove hardware. Comes with a ton of bits, everything, pretty much everything you'll ever need for most things. So we're going to use the precision driver first, and hope that these screws don't give me any resistance. All right. Well, pivot came loose nice and easy. And we're going to do the 2 frame screws. Also nice and easy. Looks like they did not use a ton of Loctite on this thing. Now, I am the second owner. The original owner sold it to me. I do not know if this knife was ever taken apart. But I just got it recently, so for the sake of science, let's take it apart, see what it looks like on the inside, clean it out. All right, no Loctite at all on these screws, 0 Loctite. So that's why they came out so easy, and I am not going to complain about that. As a knife owner who has owned hundreds of knives, I can attest to the fact that I'd rather have no Loctite. Yeah, no Loctite on the pivot either. I don't know if you can see that, but there is 0 Loctite on this knife. There is some type of oil. I'm assuming that's from the bearings. So now let's see if we can get this thing apart. All right, it's coming. I'm assuming this back spacer has maybe some pins in it. All right. There we go. The back spacer does have 2 pins that slide into the frame to help align everything, which is nice. So what do we see here? Well, we see a big back spacer. This is that zirconium backspacer. We see the multi-row ceramic bearing system, that's pretty cool. Bunch of ceramic bearings there. There is a significant amount of grease and oil, it looks like, in here. Get some alcohol pads ready to go. You might or might not know, I like to run my bearings dry to see how they feel. That was recommended by John Grimsmo and a guy named Bill Koenig. In the past, I have witnessed those two gentlemen say to run bearings dry. And the reason for that is that unlike washers, you know, bearings roll, right? So there's never a ton of friction. Oh, these are pocketed too, guys. These are pocketed nicely. Okay. Let's see if we can get them out with a Q-tip maybe. There's one bearing there. Another bearing there. Okay. So we'll set that aside. There's the blade. Here are the two handle scales. You can see there's a little bit of internal milling. It's much deeper on the lock side, strictly because this does have that zirconium inlay. Oh, where did that fall out of? All right, that was the pin for the lanyard, which I'm no need to remove that. But yeah, so the pockets on the show side are not as deeply milled because there's not enough room because it's thinned out already for that bolster or that inlay. But you can see the inlay is secured by these three screws here. This knife does have steel races, as you can see there, for the bearings to ride on. I believe the Rockwell hardness of ceramic is something like, don't quote me on this, something like 90 HRC. And the Rockwell hardness on titanium is like 30 or 40. So what's going to happen is the bearings are just going to wear into the titanium like crazy if there's no steel races in there. So that prevents that. Now, the one thing I absolutely hate about multi-row bearings is that to make them work, there has to be all these little cuts in the bearing cage. I don't know if you can see that. There's all these little cuts in the bearing cage, and they get snagged on any type of cloth, microfiber, you know, anything they get snagged on. I deal with that in my Shiragorovs, and I am dealing with that now. So even on the alcohol pad, I'm just going to try to blot it because the those little cutouts that hold the bearings in just stick and tear at even the fabric that these pads are made out of. So what I'm going to do is saturate them in the oil, kind of roll them around, try to dry them out. Nope, they stick to my microfiber as well. So now I have to basically get the damn fibers out of them so that doesn't bind up. And that's one thing I don't like about bearing knives to begin with versus washers, is that they're so fragile in terms of if something gets stuck inside the bearing, it ceases to roll as smoothly as it can. It can be dust, lint from your pocket, hair. I can't tell you how many times I've disassembled bearing knives and there's been human or dog hair. I have 2 dogs, so dog hair is a prevalent problem within my EDC routine, whether it comes to my clothing or my knives. So yeah, bearings are fragile. They're finicky. They are just, I don't know. They are what they are. They give you an extremely smooth action, but at the same time, they are higher maintenance and they are more prone to failure, more prone to not performing as well when they get dirty. So I'm just going to do a light cleanup here, guys. I'm just going to wipe all that factory gunk off the races, off the bearings, and out of the blade here. You have these pockets that the bearings ride on. Oh, there's a bunch in there. Holy crap. Clean out the pivot. Normally I would, kind of soak these things in alcohol, but I have a meeting for work shortly, so I don't have time to get my full setup out here. So let's just dry that all out with a microfiber. And I'm going to thoroughly wipe down the all the parts of the blade that once this thing is put back together are hidden by the handle, and that way I don't have any finger oils on there or anything that can start to corrode what I can't wipe down. You can see that there's the detent track there and the detent ball hole. And if you ever look at where the bearings actually contact the blade steel on any knife that runs on bearings, specifically ceramic bearings. Again, the ceramic is harder of a material than the blade itself, so you can see there's little ridges where all those bearings roll, because they are technically cutting into the steel, because the steel is softer than the ceramic. So that's ready to go. The knife is pretty simple, guys. It's got those steel races, which will pop out. You can pop those out. It appears to have a free spinning pivot. Let's see. Yeah, that's a free spinning pivot. Something I hate in knives is a free spinning pivot. Because if you over tighten the pivot or use too much Loctite, that pivot's just going to spin against you when you're trying to disassemble the knife or adjust the pivot tightness. It is what it is. Luckily, there was no Loctite on this knife from the factory, but I am going to put Loctite in it, and I'll tell you why. Blade is gigantic. Flipper tab is gigantic. That equates to a lot of centrifugal force when opening and closing the knife. And I have noticed the pivot loosen over time because there's just so much thwack going on that is completely 100% natural to happen. I'm cleaning the threads on the pivot screw now so that when I put Loctite on, it will adhere. Get the grease off of there. Okay. So yeah, non-captive pivots bug me, and that's the one thing I hate about my Shirogorov knives, is that they're all free spinning pivots and you can't hold on to them for the life of you. Let's clean off the detent ball while we're in here, just in case there's any gunk on there. Again, this is just a quick cleaning. Normally a little bit more thorough than this. All right, so we're basically gonna, let's see. I'm gonna run this knife dry for a little while, maybe a week or so, and see if it runs any smoother. So we got, look at all those ceramic bearings. This thing's gonna roll. You don't need to make it any slicker than it is. And I know that there's some haters out there that'll say, oh, you need to oil bearings because there's friction and there's contact, but you know what, there's not enough. I don't think there's enough friction in a folding knife with bearings like this to do any harm to your knife. So, oh, you got a little engraving there, multi-row bearing system, MRBS. It's upside down. That's cool. So yeah, this is a nice, nicely built, put together design. I see no issues with it whatsoever. let's see. So we got the pivot in the right spot. What I am going to do is put a little oil. Got the old reliable nano oil here. I do want to oil the pivot, so why don't I do that from the blade? I'm just going to put a little dab of oil on the inside of the pivot because that's going to ride, you know, cause friction there. I'm going to put a little dab of excess oil I have there on the detent ball. I oil the detent ball and not the bearings because the detent ball is stationary, and the detent ball, you know, glides against the blade. It doesn't roll. So that warrants some oil for me. Let's see, how are we going to do this? Well, I guess since the pivot is on the show side, we can start to put it together that way, kind of upside down. So we're going to slide this blade onto the pivot. Hopefully the bearings line up with the pockets, but hey, we'll find out soon. And we'll slide that set of bearings there. Let's see, I will put a little bit of oil on this part of the pivot as well, just the, not too much. Let's see. I don't want to drip it on the actual bearings. Just want to get it on the outside of the pivot barrel. Pivot screw. This is the stop pin, which we need. Gonna have to pause this video for a second. I'll be right back.
A few moments later.
All right, sorry about that. We're back. Unfortunately, filming during the workday is the only time I can make these videos. Yeah, so where did we leave off? We left off with the stop pin. So let's put the stop pin back in its place. It's got some fuzz on it. All right, stop pin locks in pretty securely into the titanium. So we got that there. So now the only thing that's left to do, because this is a really nice design with the backspacer here, that's going to lock this scale in place. So hopefully we can line it all up nice. Clean this gunk out of here and out of here. All right. Let's see how it goes. And of course, I am not hovering over this, but yeah, snaps right into place. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. We will just get the pivot threaded on. Oh, Loctite. Almost forgot the Loctite. Little dab will do you here. Now, blue Loctite, I found out, has a shelf life. The chemical composition does wear down over time. So if you guys are using blue Loctite, and it's the blue in particular, I believe, if you're using blue Loctite and you're noticing that it's just not working anymore, I read that it does have a shelf life. I don't know how long that shelf life is, but it will become ineffective over time. So I'm going to put a decent amount on there just because this is such a big honky knife. It's not a ton of Loctite, but it's enough hopefully to keep this thing secure. And I will just thread this on, not tight, but just enough to stay in place. The frame screws, I'll tell you what, I'm going to try them without Loctite for this round. Just because if they don't need it, I'd rather not use it. So we'll find out. I will carry this a bunch of times over the next couple weeks, and I will see if these loosen up with no Loctite on them. So let's see, is this guy lined up, getting some resistance. And the reason why I'm getting some resistance, I will tell you, is because this backspacer is not locked in. I don't know if you can see that. So what we're going to do is we're going to back off the pivot a little bit. So there's some room there. We're going to make sure these are backed off a little bit. And we're going to better line this up. There we go. Now it's nice and flush, as you can see. So now we're just going to tighten these down so that they grab the threads. I'm not going to tighten them all the way. I'm just going to snug them so that I know they're threaded in completely. Now those are not tight, and the pivot is not tight. So now we're going to get the pivot down a little bit more, and now I can tighten these so that they're snug. Just finger tight. That's all I need. They're snug. And now I will tighten the pivot. Finger tight. Let's clean off this smudged up blade. It's smudged up beyond looking pretty. It doesn't have to be perfect now. And let's just see. Action smooth. Centering is pretty spot on. So that means we can flip it. Okay. Okay. Let's see if we can snug this down just a little more. Nope. That's as far as it goes. Without cranking on it, just hitting resistance, that's as tight as it gets. Yeah, centering is dead on. And action is ridiculous. This thing just sounds mean. I'm not sure if that's coming up in the video, but yeah. So next step would be, I typically let my Loctite cure for at least 24 hours, which is going to suck because I want to carry this knife and I want to play with it. But for the sake of doing things the right way, this is going to sit in a drawer for the next 24 hours. So there you have it, guys. Disassembly and some quick maintenance on the CKF Nalu Knives Capitalist. A very, very easy knife to take down and maintain. And what's awesome is, like all CKF, it comes with a complete set of hardware. Everything from every screw to every stop pin to the pins that hold the scales and the backspacer in place, to the pivot assembly, to the bearings, to the lock bar insert. It's all here, which I love about this company. But yeah, I mean, on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the worst design to take down and maintain, and 5 being the easiest, this is a 5 or 4.5. I mean, there's nothing easier than maybe an integral that has easy access to the pivot. I don't know, but as far as a traditional sandwiched frame lock design with either, you know, standoff or backspacer, this is as easy as it gets, guys. So yeah, if you're still here, thanks for sticking around. If you liked the video, please hit the like button to help make my videos, you know, more visible to the EDC and knife community on YouTube, because that apparently helps with the algorithm. And you know, I hate having to say that, but I guess people don't know that, and it's relatively new, and I would like to make videos that people actually see. So there you have it, guys. Disassembly and takedown of the CKF Capitalist. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.